Most people think buying a Range Rover means you've figured something out. Truth is, half the people in Range Rovers are one missed payment away from a very embarrassing phone call with their bank. The gap between a $60,000 Sport and a $350,000 SV Bespoke has almost nothing to do with how good you look pulling into a valet. It's about understanding what Land Rover is actually selling at each price point, and more importantly, what they're quietly laughing about while cashing your check. These are the 7 levels of Range Rover. Stay until level 5 and you'll understand why this is the only SUV brand on earth that makes rich people feel poor. Level 1. The entry ticket. Range Rover. Evoque. This is Land Rover opening the velvet rope and letting everybody in. The Evoque starts at around $47,000. Compact, stylish, available in more colors than a Pharaoh and Ball catalog. It looks expensive, parked outside a brunch spot, and that, genuinely, is the entire point. The buyer here isn't confused. They know exactly what they're doing. They want that floating roof, those flush door handles, and the ability to say, "Oh, I have a Range Rover," without technically lying. The Evoque sits on a front-wheel drive biased platform shared with the Discovery Sport. Not rear-wheel drive, not body-on-frame, essentially a very well-dressed Ford Escape underneath, and Ford literally co-developed the platform. You paid for the badge and the mood board, not the mud. What you do get: the PV Pro infotainment system, a 11.4-inch curved touchscreen, ambient lighting that makes the interior feel like a boutique hotel lobby, and a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder mild hybrid that makes 197 horsepower. 3 cylinders. In a Range Rover. The engine sounds like someone blending a smoothie in a cupboard. 0 to 60 in about 8.3 seconds in base trim. You'll merge onto the motorway eventually. Here's the buy smart take. A 3-year-old Evoque drops 45 to 50% in value. Buy one at 2 years old, certified pre-owned, and let the original owner absorb that financial punishment while you enjoy the heated massaging seats. This tier is actually brilliant secondhand. New? You're funding someone else's story. Level 2, the real starting point. Range Rover. Velar. Now the conversation gets interesting. The Velar starts around $60,000 and sits between the Evoque and the Sport in a space Land Rover basically invented by asking, what if a Range Rover went to art school? The design brief was reportedly influenced by the original 1969 Range Rover prototype. Clean surfaces, no unnecessary lines, a silhouette so aerodynamic it looks like it was sculpted by someone who genuinely dislikes excess. It succeeded. The Velar won the Design Museum's Design of the Year award in 2018. A car beat every building, every product, every piece of fashion that year. A car from Solihull. Under the bonnet, a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4, making 247 horsepower paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid, gets you to 60 in 6.5 seconds. Not fast, not slow, competent. The automotive equivalent of someone who shows up exactly on time and immediately makes everyone else feel slightly disorganized. The interior is where the Velar genuinely earns its money. Dual 10-inch touchscreen stacked vertically. The lower one replaces almost every physical button. Looks stunning. Costs a fortune to fix when it inevitably decides to reboot itself while you're on the motorway trying to change the temperature. Pick here. Velar P250 in Hakuba Silver with the R-Dynamic package. Under $70,000, and it looks like something a Scandinavian architect drives to the airport. Loses value fast, but at this price point, that's someone else's problem to absorb first. Level 3. The sweet spot. Everyone ignores. Range Rover Sport. This is where the lineup finds its personality and the buyer stops apologizing for spending the money. Sport starts at $84,000. Load it realistically and you're at $95,000 to $105,000. It's the best-selling Range Rover globally and it's not particularly close. The reason people buy the Sport over the full size is simple and nobody talks about it. The Sport is actually better to drive. It's shorter, lower, has a sportier suspension tune, and responds to inputs in a way the full-size never bothers to. The full-size Range Rover is a statement. The Sport is a driver's car that also makes a statement. Different character entirely. Powertrains here are genuinely impressive. The P360 straight-six mild hybrid makes 355 horsepower. The P400 makes 395. The plug-in hybrid P510e makes 503 horsepower combined and will do 70 miles electric only, which means most Sport PHEV owners never actually use fuel during the week and then absolutely destroy the fuel economy on one motorway trip to Scotland. Dynamic air suspension is standard on most trims. It reads the road, adjusts in milliseconds, and makes a 2-ton SUV feel like it weighs significantly less than it does. Effortless is the word people use. Effortless is correct. The Sport also has terrain response too, an automatic off-road system that detects the surface and adjusts everything, Throttle mapping, brake bias, diff lock, without the driver doing anything. You could legitimately cross a river in this vehicle and the system would handle the anxiety so you don't have to. Best buy at this level. P400 in Carpathian Gray with the dynamic HSE pack. It's the car where the engineering finally, properly matches the price. Most people stop here. Most people are right. Level 4, the flagship. Full-size Range Rover. This is the one. The original. The reason every other SUV on Earth wants to be something it isn't. Full-size Range Rover starts at $105,000. The PV30 V8 First Edition pushes past $175,000. Long wheelbase adds legroom and another $8,000 to the sticker. By the time a serious buyer finishes the configurator, $200,000 has a way of appearing on the screen with quiet inevitability. The full-size Range Rover invented the luxury SUV concept in 1970. It was the first vehicle ever displayed inside the Louvre as a design exhibit. Let that land for a second. A car inside the Louvre, before anyone else understood that a utilitarian off-roader could also be genuinely beautiful. Today's 5th-generation model sits on an all-new MLA Flex architecture, available with a BMW-sourced 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 making 523 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. A vehicle the size of a small building, hitting 60 in 4.4 seconds, while the rear passengers recline their seats, extend the calf rests, and operate the cabin temperature from their own 13.7-inch rear touchscreen. The cabin itself, 22-way adjustable front seats. Cabin air purification. Active noise cancellation using speakers to generate opposing sound waves. Rear executive class seats with airline-style fold-down tables. The quietest interior of any production SUV ever measured. Quieter than some recording studios. Honest assessment. If you are the driver and only the driver more than 90% of the time, the Sport gives you 85% of this car for significantly less money. The full size reveals itself on long journeys, in rear seat comfort, and in the particular way, it makes other traffic feel irrelevant. If you don't feel those differences in your daily life, you're buying mythology, which is still fine. The mythology is excellent. Level 5. The Defender that broke the internet. Land Rover brought the Defender back in 2020 and the internet had opinions, strong ones. Old Defender owners said it sold out. New buyers said it was the best thing they'd ever purchased. Both groups were arguing so loudly nobody noticed Land Rover had quietly created one of the most capable, most versatile, most culturally relevant vehicles on the market. The Defender 90 starts at $56,000. Defender 110 from $63,000. V8 version, $115,000. 518 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. A body-on-frame off-roader that does 4.9 seconds to 60. Make it make sense. What separates the Defender from everything else in the lineup is identity. Range Rovers are aspirational. The Defender is attitudinal. It doesn't care if you think it's beautiful. It's going somewhere you can't follow, and it will look exactly the same coming back. Weight depth of 35.4 inches. Approach angle of 38 degrees. A detachable tow bar that can pull 200 pounds. Roof rack options that make overlanders weep with joy. And an interior built to be hosed down if required, sitting alongside a 10-inch touchscreen and a 3D surround camera system because apparently getting muddy and getting tech are no longer mutually exclusive. The Defender 110 V8 is the pick. It's the vehicle that makes the most sense of the price. You could drive it to a board meeting or a river crossing on the same Tuesday and neither environment would question your presence. If you've made it this far, you clearly know your Range Rovers better than the person at the dealership trying to upsell you paint protection film. Stick around. Level 6 is where sensible money leaves the building. Level 6, Sport, SVR, and SV. When enough is never the brief SVR and SV badges mean Land Rover's Special Vehicle Operations Division got involved. SVO is the department that exists to answer questions nobody asked in a reasonable voice. The Range Rover Sport SVR, 575 horsepower from a supercharged 5.0-liter V8, 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. Top speed 176 mph, a full-size luxury SUV, going 176 miles per hour, on tires that cost $600 each. The exhaust note bypasses your ears and goes directly to the part of your brain responsible for poor financial decisions. The Range Rover SV. This is the full-size flagship wearing SVO's tailoring, starting around $220,000. Bespoke paint options not available elsewhere. Seat materials sourced from suppliers that also supply private jets and super yachts. Interior configurations designed by a dedicated SV design team who apparently have a policy against anything that doesn't feel obscene. Available with signature suite seating, 4 individual seats, A fixed center console that unfolds into a table, and rear footrests that deploy electrically so rear passengers can recline at an angle that will make them complain about economy class for the rest of their lives. Is it better than the standard full size by $100,000 worth? No. Is it better by $100,000 worth of feeling? Completely. That distinction matters to the person buying it and nobody else, which is the whole point.